We're back at the Vitek booth at NAB 2015, and I'm joined by Simon from BlackMagic Design, who is here to show us what is probably the most talked about gadget of the day. Well, actually multiple gadgets of the day, but before we get to that, I'm just going to introduce my friend, colleague, co-worker, semi-boss sort of person, Matthew Allard, our technical editor, who has joined us from after roving the show floor for several hours.
Your feet today.
It's nice to sit down for a little while.
Your trainers are still smoking. You've been out there. So anyway, this is not a Sony FS7.
It's not. It's shrunk in size from the previous camera that was occupying the corner of that desk. This is the new BlackMagic Ursa Mini.
Let's have a look.
And
see if we get a picture here.
I think the three of us sat here 12 months ago talking about the Ursa, the full-size Ursa. And we're coming back here 12 months later with a camera that is a third of the weight.
Spin it around, let's have a look.
And considerably smaller in size. So I'll let you get your close-ups there of the grip, and
there's a hand grip.
Talk a little bit more about some of those things. Spin maybe through the back of that for you.
So this is a much more ergonomic form factor than we're used to seeing from BlackMagic, I think it's fair to say.
I don't know how to take that, Dan. Is that a compliment?
It's a compliment. Take it as a compliment.
When I was over at your booth earlier, actually, when I was talking to some of the guys, and I said, oh, you know, this is probably the Ursa that most people wanted built in the first place, and they said, well, if we hadn't have made the original Ursa, we wouldn't have been able to come up with this design.
There's definitely truth in that. You know, I think it's perhaps hard for some people to think back to a time we didn't make cameras, but we're still new kids on the block. You know, we're 3 years since we announced that first cinema camera, and I think that, you know, it's cliched, but there's a lot of learning to do in terms of camera manufacture and camera design, and above all, there's a lot of listening to do to the feedback.
But I mean, you really have listened. So come on, show us what have you done? How's this? What's in here? Run us through the specs.
You see the similarities to the Ursa, so it's definitely a mini version in terms of the feature set. So a lot of the things that we included in the original Ursa were things like professional battery solutions, because obviously, you know, one of the very first things we did with the camera, we had a built-in battery, which was more of a backup than it was a permanent power source. So, you know, we've got the V-lock battery plate for use with the IDX battery. You could put Anton bar or PAGs onto there, or whatever your battery preference was. We've got the same sort of video connectivity there on the camera. It's 12 gig SDI out. So again, single cable for Ultra HD production. We've got the SDI and the power out on the front for Viewfinder. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well, because there's a brand new Viewfinder that features on this camera. And then some of the similarities that, you know, people will be familiar with our cameras. We've got a 5-inch touchscreen in the side, which is all of the menu controls are on the touchscreen, as with some of the other models. So that's in there. It's EF, it's PL mount. We've got some pretty clever accessories on there, and yeah, so it really is a sort of scaled down version. And I think the weight on the body itself is 5 pounds.
5 pounds.
5 pounds.
That's remarkably light compared to the previous camera.
It is. When you look at that in European land, that's about 2.5 kilograms, and that makes it about a third in weight of the original Ursa. So it's a much smaller camera.
So I believe with this camera, when you purchase it, what you're getting is you're getting the camera, you're getting the hand grip. The optional accessories you've got on here are this arm, the base plate, the EVF, and the top handle.
Absolutely correct, Matt. So what you get is the grip that's here on the side. That comes with the camera, and that would typically be situated on the rosette that's here on the side.
When you buy it, it comes on the you basically put it there.
And it comes with that grip as a standard within the price of the camera. And then, as Matt said, there's an accessory pack, which is if I look at the bottom of that, the shoulder mount is also the quick release. Now, I think that's really nice, because it does mean just undocking the camera from the tripod is really quick, and it's straight on the shoulder. But in order to then do that, if you're using it on your shoulder, you want to reposition where that grip is, and the Lanc controls the record, start, stop, the iris and the focus buttons that are on the front of there. So we have this extension arm. So we've got the extension arm, we've got the shoulder mount, and we've got the handle that goes on the top.
Let's just see the handle there a second.
Very similar to
the handle comes with the camera anyway.
No, This one, so the grip comes with, but this and the shoulder mount plate and the extension bar are in one accessory pack. That accessory pack is only $395 for all three of those items.
The shoulder mount there, is that only available in VCT 14, or is there other options available?
It is right now.
Longer.
I mean, if people demand other options, then certainly that's something we can take a look at. Of course, that can be detached from the camera, and you could mount it to any other type of plate. But the shoulder mount itself is in the
so ergonomic, Matt, do you want to try that on ergonomically?
I've tried it.
Well, do it now.
I've had a go of it quite extensively over at the booth, and it balances really nicely on the shoulder. You know, I don't think you could do this with the previous Ursa. I think
if you had big shoulders,
it would be very difficult. But it's very nice. It's very easy to hold. And it's quite nicely balanced.
Can we see that? Perhaps cut to the little handheld camera here, crew.
You can just quite comfortably hold that on your shoulder, you know, no problems at all. It's not heavy enough to be sort of, I want to put it down right now.
Yeah. Sure.
Let's talk a little bit, seeing as you've got it like that, to make it work, like you really need the EVF. So tell us about the EVF.
Yeah, well, the EVF is designed to work with both the new Ursa Mini and the first generation Ursa camera, so it will mount easily onto both of those cameras. This is the first time we've made a viewfinder. We think this is really special. It's really nice to use.
LCD,
it's
OLED?
It's OLED, and it's full 1920 1080, wow. And it's 24-bit RGB. This thing is crystal clear, and unlike a lot of EVFs at times where you can often see the pixels and they can at times be a little bit blocky. This is crystal clear when you look through that. It's really nice to use.
It is really nice to use.
A lot of people this morning would come up instantly and say, well, if we don't buy the camera, can we get the viewfinder to fit something
That's a good question. Can you?
Not right now, but I don't think it will. It's not going to take any of the third-party companies long before they're looking at ways we can mount that.
What I found very interesting as well is this is not just proprietary for this particular camera, because it just goes in via an SDI and it uses a 4-pin XLR for power. So you can, in theory, buy this for, I think it's $14.95.
$14.95.
You can take this and put it on any camera you want. The only problem you may run into is this mount is quite big for the actual viewfinder.
Let's see if I can show people this.
Obviously designed for the aesthetics of this particular camera, but clearly the technology is all sat in that end. So you know,
I mean, the other thing that I found nice is you can actually it extends left to right.
Yeah, it does. There's, you know, we've got a couple of screws there to obviously adjust the angle of the eyepiece. We've got another one just further along that we can pull out, and obviously you can flip it to use it on the other side of the camera. You know, between left and right eye. It's got some programmable buttons right on the top that we've labelled up here as being zoom, so you can punch in.
But it doesn't have to be. Let me show people.
It doesn't have to be that. You've got 3 right on the top of there. If I bend that in right now, so you see there you've got zoom at the top, you've got display, and you've also got peaking that you can turn on within the camera. But those function buttons are programmable. So potentially, you know, we can make those do other things as well, you know, so that you've got controls right next to your hand, because that's a very easy thing to use.
And that's before you've actually got a little mini USB inside.
Yeah, we have.
You might want to have a look at this bit.
Let's have a look at that.
Yeah, discreetly hidden, just next to the tally light there, we've got a little USB.
Is that going to be for future firmware updates or things like that?
Yeah.
Is that that's just for the EVF?
Just for the EVF, yeah, just for the EVF. And again, tally light on there, which is pretty useful. Anybody in a live
a live
situation.
We're running out of time.
Okay.
Lots of people want to know about this thing. Let's talk about the sensors and the image very quickly.
So the big news that came out, as well as the form factor of this camera, was that today we announced a brand new 4.6K sensor. And that 4.6K sensor delivers 15 stops of dynamic range. So that's a pretty big deal in itself. That sensor, let me just put that back on there, I think, is going to be available in both the Ursa Mini and also the full-size Ursa camera. So if anybody has an Ursa at the moment and they want to take advantage of the new 4.6K sensor, then that will be available first to those people as an upgrade, so they can swap out. One of the nice messages of the full-size Ursa is it has the user upgradable sensor and mount. So the new 4.6K sensor that we've announced will be available as an upgrade. And as I say, at 15 stops, it's the closest we've ever got to film in terms of the dynamic range of the sensors.
What frame rates do you get with the minis in different variants?
So with the Mini 30, so obviously it's Super 35 as well, which I should have mentioned. It's oversized 4K DCI, so you can pan and scan within a DCI 4K frame. It will do 30 frames at global and 60 rolling.
And which is actually the first time I've seen that.
And you're going to be able to switch that in camera. So that's going to be user selectable, so you can choose your frame rate, but also you can also choose between global and rolling.
And importantly
the
too,
camera
this camera uses a lot less power than the previous Ursa.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. 45, 50 watt, I think, was the power reading.
So the only real advantage I can now see to the original Ursa is that if you do upgrade it, you can upgrade it to the new 4.6, 4.7, 4.6K sensor. You will get a faster frame rate because of the cooling.
So we're doing global at 120.
So if slow-mo's your game, then actually you might want to look at the original Ursa still.
And I also think, you know, a lot is about still workflow and the way the camera's used, because if you're on set of a feature film where actually you don't need the handheld capability, then actually you benefit from the sheer size of the camera from being able to work around it. And that was one of our messages with Ursa, that it was a camera designed for multiple operators. But this certainly is a lot more practical to run around an exhibition like this.
Simon, we're going to wrap it up here. We've done a very extensive interview with you, which we'll put online later. But how much is this going to be? How does it break down for the different versions, and how much is the...
So you've got 4 different options. It's going to ship initially with the current 4K sensor that we have in both EF and PL. So you can take the 4K in EF and PL, or the new 4.6K sensor in EF and PL. The current 4K
you can't,
sensor...
however, change it like the previous.
You can't.
You buy it in that, you're stuck in that.
You choose the model you want to use, and that's fixed. So the 4K sensor currently in this Ursa mini camera body, $2,995. So just sub $3,000.
Pretty good. And then the 4.6K when it comes out?
Will be $4,995.
So and a little bit of a longer wait, and a slightly higher price tag.
Yeah, we're going to see those sensors come through end of June, July time. We are going to supply those out to current Ursa customers to begin with on the upgrade path. That was the promise.
Yep.
And then I guess end of July, August time we'll see the 4.6 come into the.
And you'll be able to change that sensor yourself too. You don't have to send your camera into a BlackMagic service center.
We don't suggest it's field swapped. Certainly not in the Nevada desert. But in a clean environment, you can just undo the 4 bolts and swap the turret.
Okay, we've got to wrap it up there. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to talk about the other camera, but
I was hiding.
You know, but we have done a full interview about these, which you'll be able to look at on the site later on. Simon, thank you very much for your time.
Awesome, thank you, Dan.
Look forward to seeing you again next time.
Good to see you.
All right,
Thanks,
everybody else, we'll be back after a very short break with Ryan Avery from Vedra Lenses.